And truthfully, it's really something that in the Southeast entirely, women are not really encouraged to go into politics. So they're either wearing wrappers to one political rally or the other, or they're singing praises for one political person or the other. Most of the time when I ask questions about this, I found out because of a stereotype that women who are in politics are the personally, I was in a meeting where CSOs were gathered and they were asking questions, why are women in politics? And the guys were like, what do you want to do in politics? How can the men sit at home and women will go and lead them? Like it's not an equal thing. So I want to know if women in leadership is an equal thing and how we can make that work. Secondly, you talked about the evil of your dream. I want to call, or maybe I want to enhance the evil that we are seeing now. The kind of politics and leadership we're seeing now is the politics where they pay our youth to use images of Google to campaign for things that have not been done, promises that have not been met. The leadership we're seeing now is where we pay our youth to defend, the kind of attempt they make to defend people that are not worth their defense. This is the kind of leadership we're seeing now. So now when we talk about the evil of your dream, what do you think we should do to apply the evil of your dream? What process do you think we should take?
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank. I just have a few questions. Personally, okay, my name is Chikwete Obijo, the electrical scientist. Personally, I have observed something about the Igbo nation, which I would like to address about economy. We are more selfish in our economy and not a community-driven economy. Most of the Igbos for me, they drive more on personal achievements rather than depending on how to develop the economy of the Igbos. So how do you think we can achieve an economy that is community-based?
Now we look up to the persons we consider leaders in the Southeast, for example, what has happened in the past few days, and the position that we see our governor take, which appears to be very unpopular with the people. Now, when there are policies that seem to threaten the very security of our people, how do we respond? Do we just maybe keep quiet and accept whatever it is the governor and the leaders say? Or do we try something different? So I think this is one very simple question I'm yet to find an answer to, because in all that has happened, we have not found a solution to the insecurity, especially in this part. There is an invasion happening and we can feel it. We see this on a day-to-day basis. So as young people, what do we do? Leave the country or stay and fight?
Sorry, just settle down. But thank you so much for all these questions. Starting with the very core. I want to say clearly that I'm not aware of anything in Igbo culture which says that women cannot participate in politics. I'm also not aware of anything in our culture which abhors or appears to discourage leadership of women in Igbo land. And I want to say clearly that irrespective of what may be available or not available, if the women are good enough to be our mothers, if they are good enough to be our daughters, if they are good enough to be our wives, if they are good enough to be our friends and associates, then they are good enough to lead us as well. And so, like you, I'm very concerned about the role that young people play in our politics sometimes. And that is their amenability to use, their amenability to be used as thugs and as placements to their exclusion in the mainstream political process. But you know, there's something that President Ambassador used to say when I was in cabinet, because we were pretty young, a couple of us were, a handful of us were quite young. So each time you see us, we say the young child, the young child. And so I believe that there's a natural order of things. Maybe it's from observation, from even singing, from even attending rallies. You could learn one or two things to enable you to get into mainstream politics, if that's interesting. But let me also bring another dimension to it. And that is my concern about this tendency for young people to believe that the only way to make it in life is by going to politics. And I'm saying that is unfortunate, that should not be the case. Government in politics is very serious business. It's very serious business. And I don't know if you recall what happened. Prof is here. But it was very interesting that during the last election, the run-up to the elections, when there was national debates, there were all sorts of people that came out, young stars, who said they were running for president. And two things came to mind. First of all, I just liked the audacity that they had to aspire. I thought that was fantastic. But when I listened to them because of the debates, I said, oh my God, what do these people think that running the country is about? And it was clear that they were impatient. It was clear that they had no understanding of issues around economy, issues around politics, issues around education and healthcare. Even their comportment, even their ability to really, in a logical manner, articulate their position. However, pedestrian it appeared was totally bad. And so I just want to urge you that, it's important to balance all of these issues as you aspire and as you participate and as you eventually engage in politics. And you ask, how can the important of Nigeria be achieved? I want to say to you that, the way our country is, the way most societies are set up, government is there to cater to the welfare, well-being of people. And that welfare and well-being can only be achieved through certain structures. Structures built around health, hospitals, structures built around education, structures built around security, structures built around skills development, and the rest of it. And so, the quality of outcomes from these structures, or the impact of these structures on the life of any society, depends on the quality of leadership that you elect or nominate or appoint to manage these affairs. And so it is important to my mind that Igbos begin to pay more attention to the process of selecting these leaders. It's extremely important that we pay attention to the process of selecting these leaders. And when we have selected them, then we must also consider supporting them as much as we can in order for us to bring about change. The next question, somebody how can we build a viable political party for people to come to power? You know, I went down memory lane and I dwelt focused on the experience in the Southwest. First of all, we have to be content, we have to learn contentment. We have to learn contentment. What has happened in the last, say, 2 election cycles, to my mind, shows that Igbos know what they don't want. There's been some consistency. The Igbos have demonstrated that they know what they don't want. Without apology, the next step must then be, having shown that you don't want this, you must be ready to turn your back completely. You must be ready to build the alternative that you require. And so that if we have cast our lot with a particular political party, then we must have the discipline. We must have the restraint, self-control, the tenacity to remain with that party. Otherwise, if you're swinging from place to place, then you're going to be up for grabs. Everybody knows that, okay, this guy is never serious, so what's the price? And it's very distressing for me personally that people's agenda seed have been available to be bought, to be purchased. That is the general perception of most political parties of other parts of the country. And so when there are important political issues to discuss, we're not going to factor into it. Because they think that when it's time, we're going to because we know what's going on. Now that is totally abhorrent. And I believe that the people political elites are the ones who must do something about it. I, for one, personally, since 1999, I have been in the People's Democratic Party. And in spite of offers, calls, delegations led to me to join one or the other, I declined because political parties do not build themselves. It is people that build political parties. So if there's anything wrong with the political party, then you have the opportunity to say, okay, where did we go wrong? How can we reinvent ourselves? And then try to see how you can improve and renew your contract with the people. And then go for it again. That's exactly what the Southwest is. And that is what the Southeast must do if we want to come back to reckoning in our country. Well, somebody spoke about how people more selfish than communal. How can we be more community? You know, people are individualized, but people are also communal. Maybe I'm speaking from both sides of my mouth. But I do know that the very nature of our extended family system shows that we are our brothers keeper. Yes, we like to achieve, but having achieved, we usually do not want to leave our brothers behind. And so I do not completely agree with you that it was selfish. I may not be the way to describe it. We're individualistic, we like to achieve, but we're also our brothers keeper. We're also our brothers keeper. The northern elders are more successful than the Europeans. I think it's a matter of opinion. It's a matter of opinion. Because politics is about people. And so if you refuse to make yourself available, then there are consequences. And I believe that it is in the interest of any good politician, anyone who aspires to public leadership, to actually make him or herself available as much as possible. So that, you work with people, and you don't wait until it's election time before you now start looking for people. It's extremely important that you say that out. How can they mentor me? Okay, you should have mentored me. Well, again, this is a conversation that you must have with the potential mentor. But I do know that, based on my personal experience, there are some people that approach you to mentor them either politically or business. Then the next thing that has happened is that they want to put all their problems on you. They want to run you out of town. They begin to, make that unbearable for you. So it's a balancing act at all times. But I believe that it's the responsibility of the political elite and professionals to actually mentor as many people as possible. complement or manage in the context of how much time they have and how they do the activity. He said, what, on the matter of security, what should people do when they get to governance and get to positions that are right? Well, I believe that leadership and followership is shared responsibility. You have the responsibility to hold your leadership accountable, your leaders accountable. So if someone has our mandate as governor, has our mandate as president, if that person needs to do what is clear, what in our regional interest or even national interest, citizens have a responsibility to really hold that person to account. And I believe that that is what happened in the case of Ruga. I think that the national outcry from every local crime of this country was part of what contributed to the receipt of the suspension of the Ruga initiative as an example. And I believe that the governments of the South, whatever they were thinking, they have to make a retreat once they heard the pushback from the people in the Southeast. So, the question of running away to where? There's no place to run away to anymore. Because Europe is closing their doors, America is closing its doors. I mean, almost every part of the country, part of the world, everyone is closing their doors. It's, nationalistic level. So I'm not even sure that we have an opportunity to run away to nowhere anymore. And so as a matter of fact, I'm going to really remind you of what Harry said when he was head of state in 1993, which is that we have no other countries of Nigeria which stay back here and start business together. The same way, we have no other states apart from the Southeast states, and we need to stay back here and start business together.